All right. Welcome to week 3 of the ABA pod. As always, I am your host, AJ Miskinnis, and we got ISO Andy as the other host, my wonderful co-host.
Yes, sir.
Now, week 3 was an interesting one, wasn't it, Trainer?
Oh, it was definitely, we saw two 3-0 teams go up against each other and 2-0 and 3 teams go up against each other. You know,
Yeah,
it was just set up to be a good week.
absolutely. Absolutely. You had a clash at the Titans and a clash at the bottom. And honestly, I actually think that the clash at the bottom was a better game. From watching both of them, what do you think, man?
Uh, I mean, it depends. I mean, yeah, you're probably right.
I think the Tundra looked like the best team, and that's I might be biased when I say that, but like at least on last Saturday, it looked
Yeah,
like the Tundra were the best team.
I think they for sure have the best ball movement by a mile, and I think
That was true.
they definitely have the potential to be the best team by a lot.
I'm not going to go ahead and say anything just yet because we're going to get into it. But
Hmm.
what are your initial thoughts on this past week?
Um, I think this was the first week where we really started to see teams sort of fall into where they should be. I think the first 2 weeks they were still trying to, find their stride. I think this is where they're just starting to find it.
Yeah. And honestly, like a statistic that I'm going to bring up for my thoughts is this is the first week of the season where everybody scored a point.
Mm,
Everyone who played scored a point. And that hasn't happened at all season so far, first 2 weeks. And I think that that is exactly the reason because people have found their footing. Even Gabe's team with a debuting Matt Newman. Newman got a
yeah,
bucket.
he did.
Newman got two.
Yeah, he didn't look bad. Like it just shots weren't falling for him.
I think this is a good point to start talking about that game because to be honest, the Matt Newman controversy beforehand is really what kick-started this week. You know,
Hmm.
I know Tundra Griffins was the first game, but I feel like the Matt Newman controversy preceded the game. So
Yeah,
let's start talking about like this whole thing, So Matt Newman, right? Gabe says that he can't control if Matt Newman shows up, and then he drives him to the game.
yeah. That's a it's an interesting thing that happened. Um, but with like the whole controversy fiasco thing, we really didn't know what was going to happen until game time. You know,
Yeah.
there were we had to it was something we had to discuss like right up until it was time to play.
Now, as the commissioner of the league with Tom Lynch, who is
Oh,
joining
speaking
right,
of
that is fucking
perfect
crazy.
timing.
No
Wow.
way. This is perfect timing. Oh
That's
my God.
you love to see that.
That is freaky, bro. That is freaky. Dude, Tom, I said your name and then you joined.
I heard you.
What the fuck? Now I got both commissioners on the pod. This is perfect because you know what we're talking about? The first subject of the podcast?
What?
The Matt Newman controversy.
No.
So, Tom, you want to go home and let our listeners know what exactly happened on Saturday with Matt Newman before the game?
All right. So I told Gabe no, 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 time and time again. And he was like, I can't control if he shows up. Boom. I see Gabe pull up. He drove Matt Newman. Turns out he could control it. But I figured I felt so bad for the guy. I saw him like shyly just chilling around. And I was like, I'm not about to tell this guy that Gabe probably lied to him to get him to go there. I'm
Yeah,
not about to throw him away. ABA is a welcoming league. We need the diversity that Matt Newman brings.
I agree with that, and I appreciated it. I think one of the terms that was thrown around, I don't know if it was by me or someone else, was make a wish. And honestly, I
Yeah.
think that that was more than make a wish because that kid low key kind of played pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I concur.
So,
Yeah.
what was the whole ruling on it? Because I know you were kind of spearheading that. Um, what is Gabe's five rostered? going forward?
It's going to be Gabe Christopher, Nick DeAndrea, Dan Kelly, Matt Newman, Jackson Spencer.
Gotcha. So for Gabe, if he's listening to this, which I know he will, those are your five. Now,
No,
also,
no more Make-A-Wish kids.
while we're talking about rumors following this, one of the piece of news that was being thrown around was that a Jackson Shilbowie unretirement might happen. What would we see if that does come into fruition later in the season?
See, you know what? I think Gabe is such a snake that he would advocate for kicking out Dan Kelly.
Wow.
I really do feel like Gabe would do that.
ABA fan favorite Dan Kelly, ABA villain Gabe Christopher.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's my thought on that.
Yeah.
I think that his team is one that is full of projects, and I feel like if those projects take a lot longer to develop than he thinks they will, I think he might get impatient. I think you're 100% with that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when would Jackson Chabot even unretire?
Hypothetically speaking, if Jackson Chaboy decides to unretire, which, word around the street is that it may be a decision that's coming, it would be after NT Rec Department flag football ends.
Do we have a timeline for that, or could we make a phone call
I am
to his
just the
agent?
podcast host. I have no idea. I haven't played flag football in years.
We don't have any contacts with his agent to
I'll tell you what, I know a guy who's pretty close to him, and I'll see what I can do.
awesome.
Some investigative journalism from AJ Miskis.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're still gonna have to, discuss if the
Well,
time comes.
I am not gonna lie. I was talking to some other ABA star players the other night, and it seemed that an idea that was thrown out there was that we should put him on the worst team.
I mean, yeah, I understand like that idea, and it's something that we definitely would have done last year because we pretty much did with the expansion, mid-season expansion.
Mm-hmm.
He's not on Gabe's team anymore. He's a free agent technically.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Yeah.
interesting. So kind of moving forward into this week's games, I think we should start with River Dragons Enforcers because in watching that game, there's a lot to get into, man. Like, first and foremost, he will not be on the podcast today. I think the biggest takeaway point from that game is when Nolan Anson is John at the referee, at everyone who will listen, he does not back it up and he stops playing. That's bad.
Honestly, ABA low light for me this season is when Nolan was just yelling, "Bro, come on, that's out of bounds," when it just wasn't even out of bounds. We've always played full court.
Yeah.
There would have to be a rule change. You can't just be like, nah, that's not how it works.
Now, he was talking and I was refereeing the game, right? And I have a pretty good grasp on the rules and everything. And also, I feel like my position was pretty good on the baseline.
Yeah.
So he came over after it was ruled out enforcer's ball, right? And he made it a point to come over to me, and Eric was standing next to me. He can back me up, just to say, for the record, that was totally out of bounds on us. And when you look at the footage, right, and you look at the footage of that play,
Oh, wait, is that the play with Max out of bounds and passing it to me?
he wasn't out. Oh, wait, no, not that one. That one he was out of
Okay.
bounds, but Nolan didn't say anything. He said that's it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking about the
because I
one on the
remember that play when
baseline
it
where
happened.
I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Max or you have both feet in bounds, and me and Eric are looking right at the baseline, making sure it's in bounds. Nolan's head isn't even looking there. And then he comes around and he says, that was out on us, by the way. So then me and Eric are just like, What? You got
Yeah.
the call. And we're
Yeah,
looking
dude,
right
Nolan, he was arguing all the calls that were coming our way. Like he was arguing every single call for no reason.
and I heard the huddle at one of the timeouts where both you and Max were imploring, pleading with him, Nolan, play the game.
Yeah.
Thomas.
I said
Oh,
stay humble and hungry, but a lot of people in this group chat like to not be humble, but then just afterwards say, I'm just gonna be humble after not
Yeah.
being humble.
Thomas, do
Trainer,
you
Nolan
think?
was shit talking you pretty bad.
Oh,
What are your
yeah, yeah.
thoughts?
I don't even remember that.
You
This man does not have a thought behind his eyes.
Dude, my brain today has just been fog. Like, so in microbiology, I was working with like test tubes and stuff. I straight up, they had liquid broth in it. Instead of putting it in the rack, I just set it down flat on the table and it just spilled everywhere. I,
Listen,
I
is this relevant to the ABA?
no,
Well, this is
but
important. He's
but
explaining.
Okay.
um I wanted to ask Thomas, do you think Nolan's personality these last few weeks has been affecting the team negatively? Do you think the enforcers will be even better if and when he changes that, like he says he's going to?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the way I see it. Max had around a 31%. He had low 31% shooting percentage.
Yeah.
I had a high 31% shooting percentage. Nolan Anson had an 18% shooting percentage this last week. Although the points look similar, he has taken all these threes. He'd never hit the backboard or rim on any of his threes. It's just he's just got to stop talking when he just can't back it up.
I think the stats don't lie. I'm a very big stats don't lie kind of guy. And if you looked at if this is why it was so hard for me to give out player of the week this week because it was like all three of you guys were just chucking up shots after shot
Yeah.
after shot, and like Tom, you were right. You were the more efficient player, but I just had to give it to Max because of his 23
Yeah.
points, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like his shots, I don't even think they were really, really bad. Like a lot of them were kind of open. He did his little, I'm
Yeah.
stepping across and then I'm doing a little hop
Yeah. Some
into
of
it,
those
but it
though,
was open.
Nolan would be like 10 feet away from the hoop, not even look at the hoop and do a hook shot though, I feel like. Some
That
of them
is
were horrendous.
his shot, and I put that in parentheses because he does that all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. Uh I don't know about that.
We got another enforcer on the pod, which is great because we're talking about your team, Max, right now. First team we're talking about.
Oh, lovely.
Now, Andrew Traina asked that question again for the team captain of the Kentucky Enforcers.
Yeah, so I already asked Tom this, but I was wondering if you think that Nolan's personality these last few weeks has affected the team negatively, and will the enforcers be even better if and when Nolan changes his personality like he says he's going to?
You know what? I think I like his enthusiasm for the team. I think it helps us win games. He's a dog. He's got that drive in him. But when it gets to the point where people consider us an annoying team because we call things every time, that's when it gets to me. So I think it hasn't been a hindrance at all. It's just getting to that point, and we're just gonna nip it in the butt before it even happens anymore because we don't want to be that team. We don't want to play like that type of team. We want to win our games fairly, and yeah, I'm not trying to take no easy victory.
Love it.
I think one thing I want to say is the Enforcers Walmart sponsored. I see that.
Real.
One thing that I want to bring up is the Enforcers are 3-0, and this ain't a fluke. Like I don't think this is a fluke. I don't think anyone would say it's a fluke. But obviously, the big thing about the Enforcers has been their defense this year. You got the league leader in steals in Max Waz. They lead the league in forcing turnovers for the other team. Gabe Christopher had 19 points the first week. He had 14 points the second week. And both weeks, he had over 20 rebounds. This week, Gabe went 11, 12, no assists, 8 of 33 from the field. The Enforcers defense made him have an MVP candidate, made him have his worst week by far. I'm curious to know, did you guys do anything different than other teams before? Do you think he just had a bad day shooting and he was still getting good shots? How do you think that happened?
I'm gonna let Tom take this one first.
Well, I just gotta say that the difference between every other team is they had me. You know, I was on Gabe. I vouched for myself. I'm like, I can clamp up Gabe. And honestly, I would have outscored him if I took like whatever 20 shots from three like he did too.
Yeah.
With the double screens just chucking up threes. I would have scored 11 if I did that as well. So I really think, I mean, me and Max might be the two best defenders in the entire league.
That's a good
And
argument.
it's just a little unfair. You know, we're just too good.
I'd like to piggyback off that. I completely agree with what Tommy said. And I think that we really do have like two of the best defenders in the entire league. I mean, I can't think of two players on any team that could consistently clamp up Gabe.
Yeah. I think that one of the big things, at least from the Tundra side of things, was I wasn't coming over for help because Nick was carrying me out of the paint. So when Ashton and Jimmy were down low and Ashton was guarding Gabe, you know how you have to bring help over because you know he's going to shoot. It was Jimmy who was coming over for the help, and Jimmy's height versus my height, like in size, I think that was a big turning point in the game because he could really like get whatever shot he wanted if he can get Velzy moving. And I think with you guys, what I noticed on the film was it was always Max coming over to help. Like Tom was doing a great job on ball. And when Gabe would pick up his dribble and do that little thing where he tries and then getting it up, Max was right there, man. And a couple of times he ripped the ball out. Gabe couldn't do anything. He had to dish out to Dan Kelly or Newman. Just really, really smart basketball. And that's why I think that the Enforcers isn't a fluke. That defensive IQ, you can teach it, but you can't like master it, without having that instinct. And y'all got that instinct, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Now, speaking of the River Dragons, we'll go to Andrew Traina. How do you think that new recruit played, Newman? And how do you think Nick DeAndrea, after the alarm clock incident, will come back?
So I mean, I think Nick's gonna come back in full force. I think he's taken a lot of time to mentally think about what he's done, and I think he'll be back in full power. But for Newman, he looked skillful. He looked like he could bring stuff that the River Dragons needed. I just think he didn't quite have it that day. Maybe first game, little nerves. But I think if he can start hitting shots and, playing to his full potential, I think they could be a really good team.
Totally. Max, you were defending him for most of the day. What do you have to say about the kid?
Well, it was his first outing, so I don't want to put too much activity into my words here, but I didn't think he was a reliable shooter, and that's kind of me the opportunity to double Gabe as much as I did because I always knew that if he was going to pass out to Newman, I was really worried, I want to say. So I thought that their lack of shooters is what really brought the River Dragons down. I mean, every time we could literally triple team Gabe, and they would have just had Dan or Newman. So it honestly, you make it sound like we're experts in it. It was simple from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like we were gonna do what we had to do, get the job done. But I appreciate your kind words.
And that's the thing, right? It's simple because sometimes you overcomplicate these things, right? Like sometimes you overcomplicate these things. That's natural, bro. It's easy for y'all. Y'all just came over and did it like nothing, And honestly, like y'all shot a lot. Like what did I have it in as? You shot 78 shots from the field. The River Dragons shot 55.
we just had no turnovers, honestly.
That's Enforcers basketball right there, man.
I have a question for Max. Do you think the Enforcers are taking that game if they have Nick DeAndrea out there subbing in with Dan Kelly?
Subbed in for Dan Kelly.
I mean, I've thought about that because in my head, that's their top 3.
Yeah.
And it would be a challenge because, I mean, I would say DeAndre is their number 2 on their team. I mean,
100%.
it's hard to grasp the rankings there, but I think for matchups, we would still have to consider them. I'm not trying to, give anything away, but I think it would be a much closer game.
I think that Gabe's team, like I said, I think is full of projects because honestly, Dan Kelly is the most raw prospect I've ever seen. This guy's hops is ridiculous. When he's contesting Nolan's shots from the rock star zone, he's getting so much air on those contests. And it's he's also getting boards, he's strong. This kid's got a lot of potential. And Newman looked like he had some skill. Nick D, we know, has got height. You can't teach height. And we know he can drive. I think Gabe's team has probably the biggest upside in the league, I might say. But I don't know if they're going to get to that point, especially in this year.
Trina, how do you feel about that?
What were we talking about?
What do you think about Nick DeAndrea and the team full of prospects known as?
Okay, yeah. I think the River Dragons, they play like a late 80s style basketball, They don't believe in the 3-point line. It's still kind of too new for them. They'll take a few shots from there once in a while, but I think they really like to get gritty in the paint and just go to work. And I think the team that they've built, like the players they have on their roster, is the perfect alignment of players to play that style of basketball. Whether it will work, I'm not sure.
I feel like if Nick DeAndrea and Newman are playing at the same time, I think that Gabe is just going to keep firing off threes again. Because if he knows that he's got someone down there who can get boards, he's going to keep firing away,
Yeah.
And I don't know how many bad shooting performances you're going to get out of Gabe. Really bad shooting performances like this,
Oh,
question.
This is the second time this has happened.
Today
what
has
the
been
fuck?
immaculate.
What the
Yes, Tom?
Recording in progress.
Hello? What are you doing?
Okay.
After to be on the pod.
What?
Is Max here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Max. What do you think about the only player to not score a point in the ABI besides Jackson Spencer because he missed every game? Cameron Block is the only player that hasn't scored. How do you think that affects the Enforcers putting him into the rotation?
Yeah.
I'm missing the catch for a second.
Well, you bring up a good point, and one that I haven't considered often because I hate the idea of benching one of our players. But he's got to earn his playing time. I'm going to give him the minutes, and if he doesn't perform as the Enforcers have for the entire season, I might have to put him on the bench. He's going to be a great facilitator off the bench, though. He's going to be awesome for the Enforcers team. I don't even want to trade him. I would honestly not trade Cameron for anybody right now. I can't even imagine one, so I'm not worried about it.
Gabe, now that you're in the call, I would like to know real quick, what are your thoughts on last Saturday's game for the River Dragons losing to the Enforcers?
On to Montreal.
Yeah?
That's
simple. You want to comment on your performance?
On to Montreal.
So what are your thoughts on your next matchup?
Bigs versus Twigs. Easy dub.
All right. This man's.
AJ, how do you feel about that? Are you a twig?
I'm not gonna say anything because
Hey, the Bayman, you are.
this is my whole thing, right?
Control the big man anywhere. You're a bum.
I'm the big of my team, but also my team consistently gets out rebounded. And like this was our first game where we out rebounded the other team, and that was 28-24. Like I can get boards, but I don't really know if like I have the right to say like, oh, we're not twigs, you know? Because the reality of the situation is when we play his team, we're not going to out rebound them. You know, we're shooters. We're a bunch of shooters, and I get the boards and I play down low that post player role.
Show that.
So if we're gonna win, it's probably not gonna be so much from rebounding. It's gonna be from good defense, shooting, and ball movement. And I think that we can do that, you know. So he can say bigs versus twigs all he wants. If his bigs ain't
All I
putting
know
the ball in the basket, then they ain't gonna win.
All I know is if Andrew's on the court, you're losing.
Andrew was on the court last week and we won.
And he's gone.
On that note, let's get into the next game. I think that's a great transition point. Tundra get their first win of the season over the Griffins, and I actually want to talk about the Griffins first. Are they going to go winless this season? Anyone feel free to jump in.
No.
That's a bold statement.
It could happen.
I like their chances next week.
Against the Enforcers?
Yeah. How crazy would that be? Bottom of the league beats top of the league. I think it could happen.
I can see the vision.
That would be
If
an
Noah
upset.
Matovich turns out, I heard he's been in the lab. I heard his entire job, he's been at work the past 2 weeks. I think it's literally just shooting a basketball. So I think he might show out. Matt, you got to remember, Matt had the worst game ever. Nerves got to him the first week. He scored 0 points against the Enforcers. I think Matt is going to show out. I think Noah is going to show out. And I think Eric's going to get hot. And I think they might take week 4 against the Enforcers.
Here's my tough part about that. What the Enforcers have done in the first 3 weeks is they have taken the best player on the opposing team, Belichick Strat, right? They have taken the best player on the other team and shut him down and said somebody else beat us.
But the Griffins.
The first week, the Enforcers didn't have, or the Griffins didn't have that happen. The second week didn't happen with the Tundra, and the third week didn't happen with the River Dragons.
Well, with the Griffins, when Matt and Noah are hot, they have 2 best players. You know,
And if
I think they
Eric
have
gets his stroke of luck.
Yeah, any 2 of the 3 get hot. They have the perfect combination to take down the Enforcers, I think.
You gonna say something, Max?
Personally, I think Tom is bugging, rooting. I don't know where this came from, but if you say that we locked down the strongest player on each team, I think that's accurate. But I don't really know if there is the strongest player on the Griffins.
Yeah,
I feel like whoever is getting hot, that's who we're guarding. Same thing like we did against Tundra. It's all gonna be based off who's performing, and we're gonna lock them down. We're gonna win, no matter what the fuck Tom says.
I feel like that wasn't so much though. Like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna talk my talk right now. I feel like that wasn't so much like the player that's hot. I think Max. I think you knew that you were in my head going into this game. Our game. I think you knew that. So like the second you switched on to me, you knew I was gonna be like a fucking immediate pussy. You know what I mean? Like I just wasn't gonna do anything, and I feel like you knew that.
I mean, you kind of did tell me that you were thinking about me the night before.
Yo, what? When did this transpire?
I wanted nothing to do with that matchup, and when you go in with that mindset, you're always going to like shit the bed. So when you were locking down Ashton and I started cooking, and then you came over to me, immediately just stopped all the momentum I have.
Yeah, I just think that we're such a defensive team. We're not gonna let the Griffins get hot. Like Tom is gonna probably be on their second best shooter. Maybe on their first best shooter. We're gonna lock them down, just like we have all season.
Now, I'm curious to think like this week. They got out rebounded by us, and they had their bigs in the lineup. Like now, I don't know. Do you think that that's Trina coming back? because Trina got 3 boards, Ashton got 7, I got 18. All 3 of us combined for 28. We out rebounded them by 4. Like they got out rebounded by, as Gabe would call them, the twigs. And you guys very much are not the twigs. You get a lot of rebounds. So I don't know how I like that matchup.
Yeah, I think we have the mentality of not giving up on the play. So we're always getting in the position for the rebounds. And I think we have that drive that not a lot of other teams have.
That's fair. Now let's shift over to the Tundra side real quick. The Tundra get their first win of the season. Ashton Velsey, player of the week, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, shot really well from the field, 2 blocks to continue his league lead, tied with Nick Von Bergen. 1 steal. Like the kid was on fire. He heard all the talk. Andrew Trano, what do you got to say about your teammate and how he played?
Oh yeah, he played fantastic. But I think that was largely just like the whole team was just feeling it that day, and we sort of feed off each other. I think when one of us is hot, we all play better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Rest of the Tundra, Andrew Trana, 2, 3, and 3, but very clutch to the opening and
Mhm.
closing baskets of the game. And
I was
then
gonna say
AJ Miskinnis, 7, 18, 5 on 7-11 shooting. Like this is Tundra basketball. That's what we want to see. Ball movement, passing. We are getting the points we can when we get them. I even had like some shit happen during the game where I cut my hand open again. It's still healing. I'm probably gonna tape it up. This shit's been here for like 3 weeks, man. And I cut it open again after taking a charge. And I didn't want to use my left hand at all last game. That's probably why I think I only took 11 shots, like the lowest amount of anyone besides Nick Vaughn, like in this game.
Can you even shoot with your left hand?
Oh, it's weird.
left.
My dominant hand when I'm in the post, and Max can probably attest to this, like I want to go with my left, you know? Like Nolan will absolutely attest to this because whenever I 1v1 him, I always want to end up on my left-hand side. I don't know why. But that was a big factor in the game. And you know what? Let's give our flowers real quick to the ABA medical staff.
Mhm.
They did a very good job bandaging it up and gauzing it after the tape didn't work, and it stayed pretty clean the rest of the time. And I want to send a quick shout out to them before we head into the second half of this podcast.
One more thing, I think an underrated part of that game was Jimmy on the sideline. I think
Yeah,
because he not being in the game allowed him to remain calm the whole time. He was just chill, and having that person to talk to in between plays, at halftime, in timeouts, whatever, he could give insight to what he was seeing. And I think that really helped. I think that's what whoever isn't subbed in needs to do moving forward.
hmm and I honestly think that Jimmy buckets, right? We didn't have him out on the court
Mhm.
because he had an illness, but his contribution was very, very felt. And like even in the ABA Tundra group chat, right? We're not going to have an issue with who's starting and who's not next weekend because we've already had a decision because Jimmy selflessly gave Andrew Trina his spot in the starting lineup, and he's going to be our first 3 going forward.
You know
Cookie.
what? I will say, Jimmy, I was talking to him today a little bit. We're playing a little bit of pickup, and I was talking to him. I believe he is so close to having a spiritual awakening and unlocking his full potential. It's all mental when it comes to Jimmy unlocking his full ability.
I agree with that
Yeah.
100%. He gets a matchup. We give him a matchup that he can absolutely cook on, and we just need him to get the confidence and cook. If you're missing shots, you need to have that Nolan Anson level of confidence sometimes. Just keep shooting. Keep
I'll be
shooting.
right back.
So I think now is probably a good point to transition. We reviewed the 2 games from last week. Trina, would you like to thank our sponsors real quick before we end the first half?
Yeah, so this week's podcast brought to you by Jim and Matt Caesar. It's also brought to you by Sensodyne toothpaste. We lost the Crest sponsorship, but you
Fuck.
know, yeah, you know. Um, what was the other sponsor? Walmart.
I would like to also thank a couple of our other sponsors, Golf Galaxy,
Golf
for
Galaxy.
giving us the platform to do this. Checkers. Oh my God, Checkers for
Yo,
flying.
is probably my boss is gonna watch this. So
Is he actually? Okay,
yeah.
Checkers,
Oh.
not sponsored. And also, who could forget Walmart and also Manscaped and Claritin and Vagisil, all of the fixins, Viagra. I think we lost the Blue Pill sponsorship. And now we are going to transition into the second half of this podcast. Thank you for listening and watching. And we're back with the ABA Week 3 pod. ISO Andy, AJ Miskinnis. Let's get into a quick little segment called What Are We Thinking Halfway Through the Season? All right. I'm going to give you a team, Trainer. Tell me what you're thinking about that team halfway through the season in terms of whatever comes to your mind first. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start off with our team, the Montreal Tundra. What are you thinking?
Okay, so Tundra, I think best chemistry on and off court in the league. I think most potential in the league. I think best team in the league, but not right now. Come playoff time, not even close. Yeah.
I agree with
I
that.
think they're in a really good spot though. I think they're exactly where they want to be right now.
I would agree with that. And I would say my first thought when I hear the Montreal Tundra, I just hear shooting. I hear
Yeah.
shooting. Like if we're gonna make a run of the ship, it's gonna come down to shooting. Like,
But
listen, man, we got efficient shooters on our team. You got the league leader in in field goal percentage. You got the league leader in 2-point percentage. Like efficiency, that wins you basketball games. And if we keep this up, I think we got a shot at the ship.
I think the 2 point line is important to the Tundra because it opens up the rest of the offense.
Yeah.
It allows guys to get inside because there's that threat where some of the other teams don't really have that as much.
And when you see that as an offensive player, you see there's space back there. Like I saw you doing it. I was doing it. You run back there and you get that backdoor cut and it's open.
Yeah.
Now they're chasing the perimeter. It's X's and O's, pure basketball.
I think
Straight
they
up.
play the smartest basketball, despite what Nolan has to say.
I agree. Now let's move. Kentucky Enforcers. What are you thinking?
Physical, dominant, yeah, defensive minded.
I
Definitely.
agree with that. I would say what I said in the group chat, which is ISO ball. They play a lot of ISO ball. They didn't have like any assists last week.
Mm.
And it's because like they got pure shot chuckers. Max was the passes that they would give to him when he drives, he wasn't finishing them, you
Yeah.
know? Like, and a lot of it was just either him or Nolan or Tom just making the decision, I'm getting bucket, you know? And I don't know how sustainable ISO ball is, but with their defense, they make it work.
Yeah. I mean, if they can, I mean, everyone on that team can, ISO pretty well. If they find one weak link in the defense of the team they're against, that's a tough game for that team.
Yeah. All right. St. Louis Griffins, what are you thinking?
Down but not out. I think there's still time to turn it around. They've been the lineup has been, off. Noah missing 2 weeks. I wouldn't hit the panic button on them yet.
Yeah. I think the word that comes to my head is unlucky. I think they've been unlucky the first 3 weeks, to be completely honest with you. And this might continue a fourth week because I think they're playing their first game this weekend at 8 a.m. I don't
Yeah.
know how well that suits them. Like
Mhm.
Eric is not hitting his shots to fall, and that's unlucky because we know Eric is a flamethrower sometimes. It's unlucky that Matt had his worst game of the season and had to jump back. It's unlucky that, Noah's only been here for 1 week. He's supposed to be their second best player. Like, I think unlucky, and I think their luck will break. I don't know when it is, but that's the word that comes to my head.
Yeah.
Now,
That-
last team, and then we can wrap up this segment.
Mhm.
Columbus River Dragons. What are you thinking, Trina?
Um, they're sort of so like this. This is like a mountain.
That's a
Well,
mountain.
no, it's not a mountain. It's like a tightrope, right? This is a
Yeah.
tightrope. They're right on top of the tightrope, but they're kind of like, ooh, like they might walk across the Niagara Falls or they could plummet, you know.
Yeah. You think they're very hit or miss on a given week?
I do. I do. I think it all comes down to who shows up and if Gabe's hitting his shots.
Yeah. The only word that comes to my mind when I hear of River Dragons is Gabe. Because
Mhm.
if Gabe isn't putting up 14 points, or honestly, he didn't even shoot the ball as much last game.
No.
Like, you said something as the commentator of that game. You said Gabe's not going to hit his 45 shot a game quota. He didn't.
Yeah.
He shot the ball 33 times.
It just looked like he didn't look like himself that week, Not sure what it
Now,
was.
Max, I'll be curious to get you involved in this one because this is one thing I want to say before we move into previewing. I feel
All
like
right.
when Gabe gets a comment was said, and I don't know if I agree with it or not, but I want to know what you think, which said Gabe plays his best basketball when he feels the pressure, when he feels called out. And last week he wasn't really called out because no one was doing his chirping at me and at Trina and at the Tundra, right?
Hmm.
Do you agree with the fact that Gabe plays his best when he's called out and maybe he didn't play so well last week because he wasn't feeling any of that pressure?
You know what? Yes and no. I agree with what you said, but I also think that him not having Nick DeAndrea really had an impact on his game.
Hmm.
I feel like not having Nick to get as many boards as normal and like just on pick and rolls in general, he's such a useful big man.
Mhm.
I think it brought down the game a lot, and I think that he's a lot more useful than you might initially think.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think now is a good point to transition into our preview section of the podcast. At 8 a.m., I'm pretty sure it's at 8 a.m. this Saturday, it's going to be Kentucky Enforcers versus the St. Louis Griffins. What are we thinking, boys?
It's our first ever 8 a.m. game. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the players look a little sluggish out there, honestly.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's not another alarm clock incident. Um, but you never know. It could play a factor, the time slot.
Yeah. I know that this is a time that works for all the enforcers. We don't know right now if it's a time that works for all the Griffins. But that's the time the game looks like it's going to be at. So hopefully it does. I know that the official for that game is going to be AJ McSkinnis coming off a day off of work. So he will be well rested and ready to make calls and hopefully not get yelled at the whole time, but we'll see.
Mhm.
But I genuinely do think that this could be like a real good game. Like we know these two teams, they fight each other. I'm pulling for the Griffins. I really want to see them get that first win. And a Noah Matovich good game is what I really want to see. Like if he comes out second game, he was the number 5 pick, boys. He was the number 5 pick, picked ahead of AJ, picked ahead of Tom, picked ahead of, every single other person that wasn't a captain. And I want to see him start playing like it.
I have an interesting point about that. Do you think that if Noah plays a bad game and the Griffins lose horribly, do you think Noah could be on the trading block? because I feel like he'll still have a ton of value just because we know he's skilled. He was picked high, but maybe he just doesn't fit with the Griffins.
Who would trade for him though, Trina?
I'm
Very
not really sure, but
We got a
you know.
team captain right here.
Hey, unless they're trying to trade him for Cameron, I don't know. But I am not even trying
Would
to
you
trade.
take a Nolan Anson Cameron block package for Noah?
No, I wouldn't even trade. This is
Interesting.
a private guy team right here. I'm not trying to win with anybody else.
Yeah, why mess with something that's
That's
3-0,
true. I mean, they are
perfect on the
undefeated.
season.
They are undefeated. I wonder who would pull that trigger. You know,
Yeah,
I think that
I see.
Gabe is the only one that would, because I
Yeah.
think Halsey really likes his team. I think Max really likes his team.
I don't
And
know.
honestly, if the River Dragons lose, that's a good point, Trina. If the Tundra beat the River Dragons and the Griffins get blown out, Matt Willard might be looking to shake something up. And Gabe also, Gabe is very,
Yeah,
I want to win.
rotating
No,
door.
it might just be in my head, but I think a Nick DeAndrea for Noah trade would be very beneficial to both teams.
That's true.
That's
They
an
would get
interesting.
We're
basketball
mocking
IQ,
stuff, but
and Nick
could we see it happening?
DeAndrea for the Griffins. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I know. I feel like Gabe was high on Noah coming into the draft because he looked at that 4 and 5 pick. It was like, oh, it's gonna be Matt and Noah. That team's gonna be overpowered.
Yeah.
That's not how it's turned out so far, but
Noah's
that's
only played one of those weeks though,
that's true.
and that week was against the Enforcers.
It's true.
They haven't been they're practicing. Like we have been determined to win every single game. He is not apparently, considering he doesn't want to show up to his games. So, I mean, we
So
got practice, more experience on the court. We're gonna take it to him.
how are you accounting for the return of Noah Matovich this week, Max?
I don't give a fuck.
He's
I think
he's not the guy you're gonna shut down. You're
He's not the
focusing on
guy.
Matt.
He's not that guy.
the treatment once again. I'm not coming for anybody here. I just like to talk, but I'm gonna try to defend Matt, and I think I'm gonna give up the matchup right away. I don't even know if Tom's in here right now.
No,
Tom's not in here right now, but
I
we
think
are.
me on Matt, Tom's gonna be on Noah. We're gonna shut him down. If it ends up getting flip flop, probably that's fine. Nolan's
You
gonna
think
be
that
on.
Eric gives the business to Nolan? I
No,
think
I
that's
just
the matchup of the game right there. Eric
Nolan
versus-
has height. He can defend.
Yeah, but Eric's got
Yeah, Nolan is a little uncoordinated at times.
he's got no handles.
It'll be
Hmm.
interesting.
it will.
I'm still annoyed with him. So yeah, I'm be a little bitter towards Nolan on this podcast. All right. So let's move forward to the 9 o'clock game, Tundra River Dragons, which I think will be really interesting. We don't know who's coming through for the River Dragons. I would hope that it's their best, Nick, Newman, Gabe. But I love Dan Kelly. So I really hope he shows up. And we know for the Tundra, it's going to be Velzy, Trina, AJ, and then Jimmy coming off the bench to give us support.
Mhm.
What we thinking, boys?
I think a big part of that game is going to be me. I'm changing my accessories. No longer going to be wearing the one arm sleeve on the left arm. So that's definitely going to it'll be interesting to see how that impacts my play. Could be big.
Yeah, could be huge. I mean, you played a lot better last week.
I did play good with it, just not quite where I want to be.
Max, what are your thoughts on Tundra River Dragons?
I think if you double team on Gabe the same way we did, it's going to be clips because they just don't have the shooters. Like I said before, like AJ, there's no reason that you should ever be on the dude on the 3-point line because realistically, they're not making the shot, and you're just way more valuable in the paint for these boards. So I think if you just stick to that game plan, you're going to shut them down in the second half, and that's normally when they're the most efficient.
Yeah.
So I think if you close them out on the boards, they're just going to get like tired as fuck because they don't have the most, I would say, stamina in the ABA. So I think if y'all switch up your game plan compared to last time, it could be cookies. But Gabe could come out crazy and have a 21-point game performance. So you never really know.
I think it's something we're gonna have to talk about, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to, I feel like I don't think we've seen enough of Newman to say that he's not a shooter. I feel like he could knock down shots given an open look.
It was his first game, but also some of those shots were.
All I'm saying is I literally heard the man say, I don't want to shoot.
All
I'm a leave.
right.
I think that, Max, that's a really good point because I know my biggest weakness as a player on the defensive end is my perimeter defense. I mean, shit, like if there's a way that I don't have to play in the perimeter, I watched the film for the Tundra game where I had the Nick Vaughn matchup. Holy shit. I was giving him the most space of all time when he got the ball at the perimeter. Like he could have stepped into a long two and I would have had a bad closeout. Like I can't do that against you, but I think I'm at my best when I like don't have to have that weakness exploited and I can stick to my interior defense where I think I'm pretty good. So if that's what happens, that's what happens. Maybe I don't defend Matt Newman on the perimeter. Maybe I just kind of stay help side on Gabe. We'll see what happens. But honestly, if my biggest weakness isn't like being exploited, I think that I'm a very big plus on that end.
I would say most definitely. You have what, the most boards in the league?
I'm right up there. I think give me a second, I'll check real quick. But I think that it's between me, Gabe, Nick Vaughn, and you for it.
While you're looking for that, going back to the other game real quick, because we were talking about Nick Vaughn. This week I want to see him shoot the ball more. You know, especially I think he has a perimeter shot. I'm pretty sure I've seen him shoot a long ball before, and I think he can be a good stretch, center.
To piggyback off of
Nobody's
what
gonna respect that too. Like
Mhm.
he shot the ball. You guys know how many times he shot the ball and
Was he 1 for 1?
he shot the ball one time.
Yeah.
One time. That's crazy.
I actually had a preview with Nick. We did 2v2 today, and he was dropping buckets. Like half of them were layups, half of them were like mid shots. I think if they use Nick to his full capacity, they would be much better. I think they're underutilizing Nate Lumberg.
I do like that he
Too
can be
good to
disciplined.
5 shots in an entire game. Like they have to trust him with the ball more. As long as he doesn't get, which I don't think he will. That's
He's
the time
such a plus on the defensive end already. Like he in 1 week, like this week, he had 3 blocks, man.
He's
Like
got MVP potential.
blocks
he's
today.
got if he can get that offensive stuff in line, Trina, I don't think that's crazy to say.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think that's
so.
crazy to say. He's already one of the best defenders in the league. We talk about Depoy. If I did like an all Depoy first team, it probably is Max Velzy and then Nick Vaughn after this week. And as far as rebounds go, right? Rebounds is also a very big defensive part of the game. There's the top 4 and then there's the rest because number 4 has 49, number 5 has 24 rebounds.
Mhm.
It's Gabe, Max, Nick Vaughn, and me.
Yeah,
Those 4. And I mean, I feel like that's the 4 that you would expect to have all the boards,
of course.
because those are probably the 4 biggest guys in the league.
Hey,
I'm surprised Andrew is not up there, but I know he hasn't played as many games.
He's played 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, boys. Like, I think that if switching back to River Dragons, Tundra, I really do think that like we have this like ball movement shit, and we've been developing this and building it over the course of the year so far. And I know like when Trina came in his first game, there were a couple of like runs where I hit a pass and that it was just off. You know what I mean? And then the second game, it was on, and Trainer would get the ball, and we would have a good look because it puts the defense in a position where they had to adjust, and either Velzy would be open for 3, which was very good, or I would be open on the back cut, and Trainer would find me another easy bucket.
Mhm.
It was efficient basketball, and if we play that against Columbus, I bet Gabe will take the Velzy matchup. And if Gabe takes the Velzy matchup, who does that leave on me? Newman?
Right. Yeah, I think the ball movement that we have, is something that other teams don't have. I think that's something that sets the Tundra aside and really makes them special.
That's true. I think we had the most assists in the league last game. We had 10 assists. Like that doesn't just come from like me saying, "Oh, okay. Yeah, give us an assist. Give us an assist." No, I have a one dribble rule. You
Yeah.
give someone the ball, they take one dribble, they shoot it, it goes in, you get an assist. If
Yeah.
I see a dribble move, if I see you holding the ball for like an hour before you shoot it, then I don't give you the assist. And that's telling us that the Tundra, a lot of our buckets were just coming right off the pass.
Right. Catch and
You
shoot.
know? Catch and shoot. Like you had 3 assists. I know what exactly all 3 of those were because I remember it. 2 of them were kicks out to Velzy, where you sucked in the defense and he shot it.
Yeah.
And then one of them was to me.
And we're still perfecting it too, It's not.
And we're still working on it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. And this is the other thing, right? Even if Velzy isn't cooking, I have confidence in our team. Like, I feel like this isn't the same Tundra team that played the Enforcers. I think it's different.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Now,
I disagree.
You
disagree?
At least when you play us, you're gonna be the same.
Thomas is in his bathroom.
Max, I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared anymore.
You don't need to be scared.
Are the Thunder holding a team practice this week?
I think we are. I think we are.
I think
And
it's something that
this
should
information is confidential to the Tundra, but we're just like that.
The entire Enforcers are gonna be there.
I like the all pink room.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stick it for a bathroom.
It's Griffin cuddle. It's Griffin colors, man.
Real.
Kinda. I don't know.
Tom is colorblind.
True.
So we're gonna transition to our last segment of the pod. This is everybody. I'm gonna give you a game. I want you to tell me the player you want to see step it up. You can call him out. You can just say, I want to motivate him. It's step it up. Andrew Trainer, we're going to start with you.
Yep.
We're going to start with the first game, Griffins Enforcers. What player do you want to see step it up?
It's between 2 for me. I want to see Cameron bring a lot of energy off the bench, but I really want to see Nick Vaughn take over.
You want to see a Nick Vaughn takeover game?
Yeah. I need to see him shoot the ball more than once.
One time.
But it is tough because the offensive he's in, every player on that team is a high volume player, in my opinion. So
but when he gets
maybe
those
it's just
boards,
not a good
I was
fit.
telling him this during the game. When he gets those boards, he's got enough height and he's got the time to put it up sometimes.
Right,
but he just doesn't, He always kicks that shit out.
Yeah.
Max, we'll move over to you. Enforcers, Griffins, what player do you want to see step it up?
For me?
Yep.
I'm going to have to go. I have to agree with Nick Von Bergen because I've seen the potential firsthand, and I think that he can take mids. He's just got to have the confidence to take them. And he's great on the boards, like you said. I think he's going to have an all-around great performance tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, Saturday. But regardless, no matter how good he plays, he's losing.
Interesting. Tom, you're up, man. Griffins, Enforcers, what player?
We were playing pickup today with Nick, and he had a higher percentage from like beyond the arc than he did with putback layups. But I think I really need to see Cam Block get a point. He's got to just get a point.
He is getting
and if he doesn't show up, then Nolan Anson's got to score some.
Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest. You guys probably all expect me to say like Nolan or some shit like that. No, we know what Nolan is. With all disrespect, because the man never shuts the fuck up. We know what he is. He's a third stringer acting like a fucking star player. All right, we know this. This is over there.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring because it's my boy right here. He is a crucial member of the Enforcers. If he was not in the starting three, we would be lost without him. Not to
Yeah,
say
because
that
you would have to forfeit because you need 3 people.
I am there. Like Nolan's very important to the team.
I think Cam is better than Nolan. I trained Nolan. I taught him a lot. He wasn't really using all of that stuff that I taught him, and I trained him. I'm proud of him for not playing like a 16th pick, but I'm still a little bitter about last week, man. All right. But the player I'm picking, I want to see Noah Matovich cook this weekend. 8 a.m., the big return, right? The number 5 overall pick. This man was not picked number 5 overall for no reason. I know he wasn't. When people talk about doing redrafts or whatever they're talking about, it's always been the 4 captains and then Noah, right? The entire way up until the draft. The season starts, and then what happens? Noah is not number 5 in a lot of people's eyes right now. And I want to see him prove them wrong. I want to see the Griffins get a win because I think it'd be hilarious over the undefeated Enforcers. And I want to see Noah go off. And I think he can. So let's move on to Tundra River Dragons, and we'll go back through this order. Tom, what player do you want to see step it up, Tundra River Dragons?
Oof. I think I gotta see a showing out of AJ because AJ is the biggest guy in the league if you mix height and weight, and I think you just gotta you play like a little guy until you're against a very little guy. You just gotta you're high efficiency, so why not turn that into more high volume if you're such high efficiency? You just gotta start stroking that thing, you know?
Yeah. Max?
I agree with what Tommy said, but I have a different player in mind. I also played with him today. I'm gonna have to say Jimmy Pusatier.
Jimmy
Not
Buckets, baby.
Not to call him my boy, but he's in his head too much. When I heard that you just said he put himself off of the starting roster, I'm not gonna lie, I was disappointed because I just think that he is giving himself the opposite of the benefit of the doubt, the negative of the doubt in every situation. I think if he just put his head back up on his shoulders after he missed a bucket, he would be so much better. And I think if he just stopped with this negative Nancy attitude he's got, then Tundra might have had more than a win this past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I can understand that. Andrew Traina.
Yeah.
Who's your player? Tundra River Dragons.
This is a really tough one because I feel like give me I don't know.
I don't want you to do it. I know you probably are thinking about it. Don't do it. Don't
Okay.
wake him up. Don't wake him up.
You're talking about game?
Give me myself then. I played good last week, but way better than the first week. Just not to the point where I want to be. I had 4 turnovers, same as the first week. I did play a ton more, but turn that number down. I missed 10 shots in a row, which
Yeah.
we cannot have that.
It worked out,
yeah.
but I can understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Just a touch of disappointment in how
Gotcha.
I played.
Now, no River Dragons have been mentioned in this game, in this segment.
Mhm.
Dude, I'm not going to be that fucking stupid. All right.
Mhm.
I literally just said Gabe plays his best when he's called out. And yeah, Gabe didn't have a good game last week. There's absolutely zero way he plays that bad again, and also that I'm going to call him out for playing that bad. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
I think you just did. I think
No,
you just
no. That wasn't calling him out.
In all honesty,
because I know Gabe is the best player in this league. I know that for a fact.
No.
Sucking his meat. He's sucking his meat.
in all honesty, you can go, Max.
He's honestly probably third.
I want to say Gabe is going to be coming in after a loss. have we ever seen Gabe coming into a ABA game after a loss?
That was his first loss. That's right. No, the
So
player I'm gonna say,
what to
I'm gonna
expect
say
here?
Matt Newman.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Matt Newman. I could say myself. I could absolutely like Tom. That makes sense. I could say Jimmy, Max. That made sense. I could even say Trina. You know, but I'm gonna say Matt Newman because one thing, right? I was impressed with how he did. I think he's gonna get the tough matchup. I think he's gonna get the toughest matchup in this game. I think Gabe is gonna have a like time with Velzy and me coming over to help. I think Matt Newman is going to have to start making buckets this game. And on defense, right? Gabe is probably going to defend Velzy. Matt Newman's going to be on me.
Well, what about Nick?
Is Nick going to show up?
That's true.
We don't know.
It depends. Honestly, that's who I was considering saying, not Gabe. I was thinking Newman, but yeah.
Newman or Nick? Honestly, can we just say the River Dragons bench? Because like to be completely honest, is Gabe dropping 19 every game? Like I just don't think that that's realistic. And there's no hate. I mean, it's just not realistic for anyone, you know? So, like, we need to see that background scoring. And if you don't see that, then maybe they are in trouble, you know?
I saw shades of Matt Newman having great,
Yeah.
I mean, great, possibly the highest in the league basketball IQ.
Yeah.
He knows how to play the game. And I think a big factor people aren't realizing is he was just playing in front of 16 absolute strangers, not his friends, strangers. So you got to think there was probably some nerves.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, absolutely.
I think we saw the same thing, Tom.
And especially since he didn't even know if we were going to let him play until like 2 minutes before the game.
And now that he's maybe a little more comfortable, you know, we saw first week jitters from a lot of people. You know, that was his first week.
True.
Yeah.
Now he's an official River Dragon. He's not on a 10-day. And I think that I want to see him use the tools that I saw during the game, you know. And if he can do that, if Gabe can get even somewhat of a Robin, right? Even the like most base level contribution, right, from his 2, like he did with Nick the other week. That's how the River Dragons are going to win games.
You know, you bring up a good point of having Matt Newman on you. But what if they do Matt Newman on A-Train? Like, that is such a big body on A-Train. And I know A-Train's a capable defender, but, like, that's just raw size.
Yeah, I mean,
not a lot of size.
When Jackson Spencer was in the league, I struggled defensively against him. I remember vividly not being able to defend him at all. And I'm thinking it's going to be like the same thing. So, but just because he's on me when we're on offense doesn't mean I have to guard him on defense.
You're also kind of taking away from the fact that, like, and you notice this, we're very good at getting switches that we want.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if Trina is on Newman defending him, we can switch that really quickly.
Yeah, and if we can't,
maybe we'll break out the zone.
Yeah, if we can't switch, like AJ, someone can shade over and help defense, you know.
And his shot, his hook shot, that one he was pulling out against UMax,
it was
if
good.
I'm coming over from around, that's blocked. I'm just saying, like,
I think Matt Newman is going to surprise a lot of people because he was not only playing against, you know, complete strangers, but he was going against me. I don't want to say I'm nice as fuck, but like I'm gonna clamp up most people. So I think the fact that you got 2 buckets on me in the post is pretty impressive.
That's true, man. That's true. I think this is probably a good place. We did this, but first, the last segment, we're gonna do our predictions. All right, Andrew Trina, I'm gonna give you the matchup. You give me who you think is gonna win, and who you think is gonna get player of the game. All right.
Okay. Yep.
Griffins, Enforcers.
Give me Griffins and give me Noah player of the game. I would love to see that.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know,
Max,
and I think it could happen.
I'm not even gonna say anything. Y'all know what the answer is.
who you giving player of the game to? Because I'm guessing you won't give it to yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it undecided.
Leave it undecided. All right, Tom, you gonna answer that one?
You know what? I think enforcers, me player of the game.
I like it. I like that confidence.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
so.
I'm gonna double down on that because I was thinking enforcers. I'm wearing enforcers purple right now,
Switching
and I
up,
like
switching up.
Tommy Lynch, player of the game. Max has gotten it the last 3 weeks. I think that Tom is due for a really good game. His efficiency is already basically there, and I'm excited to see that game and then ref it as well. Trina, or we'll start with Tom, and then we'll come back through reverse. Tundra River Dragons. Who you got winning? Who you got player of the game?
You know, this is tricky because I really do think River Dragons are the best team in the league, but I think
What?
I'm gonna go with
What?
yo. It's my turn to talk, brother. I think
Let
I'm
the
gonna
man
go with
speak.
Tundra
Let
because
him
I
finish.
think
Let him
Ashton's about
finish.
to have the game of his life.
Ashton
I think
Velzy.
Ashton's about to go off.
I
Yeah.
like it. Max.
River Dragons are not the best in the league, but I think that AJ is honestly due for a player of the week. You're going crazy in the boards. I think if you get your layups going, bro, like your hook shots around the rim are like honestly unguardable. So I think if you have a good outing next week against people that don't have necessarily great basketball IQ, I could totally see you getting player of the week.
A-Train.
Yeah. Give
Who you
me
got?
give me Tundra and give me AJ player of the game because I feel like the River Dragons are gonna miss a lot of shots. And I don't think AJ is gonna have to have a great offensive game to win player of the game. I think he has potential to set the ABA record for single game rebounds this week. And
Ooh,
if he does that, I think that's enough.
I
that's
think the
huge.
single game rebound record is like 25. I should probably go through and look at it, but
I wonder if it's by Nick Vaughn or Max or Gabe. It might be by Gabe.
I think it's Gabe week 1.
Definitely wasn't me.
Gabe has fucking ridiculous numbers, bro. Like he had 24. Oh wait, is that week 1? No. I can check it though.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you with the league records.
We got to make some more like hype posts this week.
Yeah.
I got one. I got one in the
Oh,
chamber.
huge.
But for my player of the game, as we wrap up this podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick a River Dragons win just because like I believe in my team, but also I don't want to give them any fuel. So let's go with a River Dragons win, and let's go with a Gabe Christopher player of the game. Just play it safe. Like that's a safe, unbiased pick right there.
Mhm.
And
He's
I
not
think
trying any feathers right now. He's not trying to awaken anything in Gabe. He's just trying to pardon him right now.
I'm being a great host right now. I'm being unbiased. Like we're playing it. We're playing it good. We're playing it safe. And we'll see what happens this weekend. Should be another exciting ABA Saturday, day before Father's Day, early in the morning. And I think that's a good place to leave it. Any boys got anything final thoughts to say?
River Dragons on top.
I don't
Okay.
think I don't think Nolan's gonna stay quiet for long.
You don't think he's gonna stay quiet for long? I can't help but agree with you there. All
Yeah.
right, boys. I'd like to thank our sponsors. We named them during the break. Thank
Mhm.
you to Max Waz, captain of the Enforcers, for coming on. Appreciate it. Thank
Great to
you
be.
for Tom Lynch, the commissioner, co-commissioner, for coming on. And thank you, as always, to my co-host, Andrew Traina, ISO Andy A. Train, the co-commissioner, commissioner of the league. And as always, I'm AJ Miskinis, A-Town Down. We out.